so much, Rosie, for that kind introduction, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to join you this evening. It truly is an honor to celebrate the 23rd edition of the AthletesCAN Forum with you, especially during the year of sport and after all the accomplishments that the Canadian athletes have achieved at the Toronto Pan Am, Pan Am Games. As Rosie mentioned, CIBC came on board as a partner with AthletesCAN in forming the CIBC Team Next program. We came on board as the first sponsor of the Pan Am Games back in 2011. And so for 4 years we worked on preparing for what we all experienced this past summer. Our vision for the Games was to inspire the next generation of athletes, to enrich our communities, and to help create a lasting legacy. And as we all know, the Games were a huge success. More than half of Canadians tuned in to watch the event. That's more than the NHL playoffs. And our Canadian athletes made us so proud, breaking a number of records and inspiring all of us with your determination and your passion. I loved how this entire city came to life and was ignited by the Games. And you know, Toronto can be a little bit jaded sometimes, and I was so thrilled to see how, you know, after the first couple of days when Torontonians realized what these Games were all about, the tone really turned and the city embraced the Games and the athletes, and it turned out to be an absolutely once-in-a-lifetime experience. I want to take a moment to congratulate all the athletes in the room who recently participated in the Games. And I especially want to thank our CIBC Team Next athletes who are present here today. To give us a wave, Cody Caldwell. By the way, I always share this story. My date tonight is my daughter, Emily. Emily and I had a chance to watch that incredible wheelchair rugby match where, you know, Cody, if you have a chance to chat with him, he's the most mild-mannered, gentle, kind, sweet human being you can talk to. But holy smokes, he was like a different person playing rugby. It's like, who is this monster? Anyway, amazing athlete, an amazing person. So congratulations, Cody, and the whole team. I am also Maxime Bouchard. Bonjour. Really been a tremendous ambassador for the program, so thank you for everything you've done. You make us so proud. And Sylvain Godet. For us at CIBC, it was really, you know, we had an opportunity to build relationships with these athletes and get to know them locally in their hometowns where they're from. But to come out and watch them compete was personally one of the most rewarding things I've ever had the opportunity to experience. So thank you so much for making us so proud. It's been a real privilege for us to help bring the Games to life in so many different ways. But one of the ways we are most proud is through the CIBC Team Next program. And I'll just share one stat with you. You know, Team Next made up 5% of Team Canada, yet they won 14% of the medals. So outstanding performance. And to me, it really, really demonstrates that investment in athletes does pay off. And it's not just the financial support, it's the mentorship, and it's the education and information, such as summits like this, that really make a difference. This was the first type of program that's been developed. We really wanted to create a program that didn't already exist. We wanted to fill the gap, and we knew that up-and-coming athletes had the hardest time finding funding. Once you get that medal, it is a lot easier, but until you get that medal, it's really tough. And so we worked with all the NSOs, and we worked with AthletesCAN and the CSIO to identify athletes from each Pan and Pan Am sport to join the program. So during the games, we had the opportunity to witness firsthand how much AthletesCAN cares and supports our Canadian athletes and their strong contribution to the Canadian sport system. And you know, every single day we had 8 a.m. briefings, and I can tell you, these guys were up midnight, 1, 2 a.m. some morning, and they always showed up 8 a.m. to brief us on athletes' performance, or who was competing the next day, and keeping us organized and making sure that we had all the information they needed. They were fantastic partners, and I can't thank you enough. So it's an honor for CIBC to have worked with such incredible partners, and I want to thank you, and especially Ashley, Renee, Rob, and Taylor. So Rob, so now we look forward to an exciting year ahead as the countdown to Rio is getting so close, and it's time to celebrate what a pan-amazing year it's been with this wrap-up video that we produced to thank everyone.
In 2000, through which we awarded $25,000 bursaries each year to assist Canada's elite amateur athletes with the cost of training and competition. And all you athletes, you know how expensive that is, and it's always such an incredible help when you can find a sponsor, and then it spurs you on for another month, another year, another 5 years. So we're here once again to thank Investors Group. Now, recipients of these bursaries have gone on to win more than 270 medals, gold, silver, bronze, at the Olympic, Paralympic, Commonwealth, Para-Pan Am, and Pan Am Games. And so we want to take a moment real quick to celebrate the contributions that Team Investors Group has made by recognizing bursary recipients and with us tonight. So we want you guys to stand when your name is called. And gee, if I missed anybody, please stand if you have been a recipient or are a bursary recipient from the Team Investors Group Amateur Athlete Fund. Can we get Marc-Antoine Gagnon to stand up? And Nathaniel Miller, please be recognized. Dasha Karagadova, Rosanna Tomia, Cody Sorensen. Congratulations to you guys, and I can only imagine how much this must have helped. Congratulations. So, on behalf of AthletesCAN and everyone here, we sincerely appreciate Investors Group's incredible support of Canadian athletes, both in sport and in the community. Now, for the AthletesCAN award portion of our evening. The AthletesCAN Leadership Award recognizes an athlete or former athlete who has made a significant contribution to sport through their involvement as an effective athlete leader, advocate, or as a builder of bridges within their sport community. The award was created in 2005 to celebrate the importance of athlete representatives, the successes they have achieved through their work as leaders, and to encourage athletes to stay connected to the sport community and to make a difference. And that's so important, because I myself have stayed connected even all these years after I've completed and competed as a Canadian athlete. It's really important to stay connected, because there's that immediate detachment when you retire and you kind of feel a little bit lost, and when you stay connected to your sport or the sporting community, giving back in some way, it really does bolster your spirit, your confidence, and it certainly helps. All right, this year, AthletesCAN is very pleased to recognize Purelator Inc. for their continued support of our organization and as sponsor of the 2015 Leadership Award. At this time, I'd like to invite AthletesCAN Treasurer to the stage, Thea Cully. She's going to reveal this year's recipient. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate what both Josh and Rosie have said tonight. Gala is my favorite part of the AthletesCAN Forum, because I love seeing us all dressed up and not in our training clothes. And you know, most of us probably think that dressing up is putting on the zip up that they provide us at one of the major games, the one with the collar, not the sweat one. So on behalf of AthletesCAN and Purelator, I am pleased to present the 2015 AthletesCAN Leadership Award to an athlete who has contributed a tremendous amount to the world of sport. Their demonstrated leadership and commitment to excellence as an athlete and as a person has enabled them to contribute to sport both on and off the field of play. I'll give you a teaser. This year's recipient is a 31-time national track cycling champion, a 3-time Olympian, and a former world record holder. His leadership contributions to Canadian athletes in sport both on and off the track are numerous. This year's AthletesCAN Leadership Award goes to Kurt Hartnett. Kurt most recently was Canada's chef de mission for Toronto 2015 Pan American Games and was Canada's assistant chef de mission for the 2011 Pan American Games, Guadalajara, Mexico. He has held a number of board positions in sport, including with AthletesCAN, the Canadian Cycling Association, Canadian Olympic Committee, World Bicycle Relief Canada, and the City of Toronto's bid for the 2008 Olympics, focusing on athlete advocacy. Kurt has numerous Canadian sport awards to his name and has been inducted into the Canadian Sport Hall of Fame and the Canadian Olympic Hall of Fame. In 2013, he was the recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. Kurt is heavily involved in numerous charities across Canada with a strong affinity to Special Olympics Canada and Right to Play. He keeps his passion for sport alive through motivational speaking, writing, broadcasting, and promoting and mentoring aspiring athletes. Ladies and gentlemen, please draw your attention to the screen for a message from Kurt.
Hi everybody, Kurt Hartnett here. First I wanted to apologize with not being able to join you live and in person here this evening, but did want to just say thank you and let you know how humbled I am to have been awarded the 2015 AthletesCAN Leadership Award presented by Purelator. Great honor and a humbling moment for me. Of course, as the chef de mission going into the 2015 Pan Am Games this summer, I was committed to ensure that our athletes had everything that they needed to compete and win here at home, and when they did, and that was very exciting. But the organizers did a fantastic job in delivering world-class facilities for our athletes and providing an Olympic level experience here on home soil. It was a tremendous and significant focus for me to ensure that these games went off successfully. As an athlete traveling the world during my career, it was a challenge to go from country to country, plopping my bag down, calling a foreign land home as I tried to ply my trade. And once the government of Ontario went after these Pan Am Games and wanted to commit the resources that they did in conjunction with the government of Canada to deliver world-class cities and build world-class facilities here at home, I was in 100%. And it was a great honor to lead the team into the 45,000 people cheering, raining pride down on top of them during those games. A tremendous legacy has been established here in this region for athletes from coast to coast to coast. It was an honor to lead that team into that opening ceremonies and for the 16 days during those Pan Am Games here in this region during the Year of Sport 2015. Once again, thank you so much for this tremendous honor, and I look forward to seeing you out on the boards and in the pools and on the tracks here in this region for years to come.
So I will accept it on behalf of Kurt. Thank you. Our next award presenter will be Dasha, for the next award.
Thank you, Thea, for that glamorous introduction. And congratulations to Kurt again. Well deserved. I think we can all agree. Now the next award is the AthletesCAN Social Responsibility Award, and I'm very honored to present this award tonight. The AthletesCAN Social Responsibility Award recognizes an athlete who has demonstrated leadership in the area of athlete social responsibility, and this is a term that was first coined by a past AthletesCAN board member and national team cyclist and researcher Aaron Carter. AthletesCAN recognizes athlete social responsibility leaders and the part they play in being a healthier and leading a healthier and more active global population, and are pleased to acknowledge that those in sport continue to give back. Now, the AthletesCAN Social Responsibility Award celebrates the importance of athletes giving back and honors the impact that athletes have had and achieved through their volunteer work as role models in their community. It also encourages former athletes to stay connected to the sport community, and that's a theme that we've all talked about quite a bit over the last day and a half. This year's recipient has given back to both sport and the community for a number of years in a variety of capacities, and I'm just gonna give you a brief synopsis of those capacities. As an Olympic rower, the recipient spent 10 years on the national team, winning 3 World Cup medals in the women's pair and women's 8, 3 national championships, 6 national university championships, and she was a member of Canada's women's 8 team at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. During her time on the national team and since her retirement, she has been very active in promoting sport, health, and physical activity. As a physician, she has lent her medical expertise to numerous high-profile sporting organizations, including being a member of the Canadian Olympic medical team for the Athens and Sochi Olympics, and a member of the Toronto 2015 Pan Am Para-Pan Am Games, Athletes Advisory Council, Medical. She is currently medical advisor to the International Olympic Committee, World Rowing Federation, Luxembourg Institute of Health, SportsSante website, and Kidsy.com website, to name a few. And in these capacities, she contributes physical activity and health information. Our recipient is also an athlete ambassador at Right to Play Canada. Presently, this year's recipient is leading the creation of an athlete social responsibility portal for the World Rowing Federation's website titled the Athlete Zone. The goal of Athlete Zone is to develop a network of current and former Olympic rowers to raise awareness and promote ASR. Athlete Zone is launching in October 2015 with plans to grow and include mentoring, international development, and athlete support for transitioning from elite sport. Wow, I could not have memorized that if my life depended on it, because that list of accomplishments is pretty huge. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute honor to recognize Jane Thornton, this year's AthletesCAN Social Responsibility Award recipient, for her significant contribution to sport and society. Please welcome Jane.
I don't know how many out there are public speakers who have had that fear that one day you're going to trip up the stairs on your way to the podium, but I can tell you, when you're 36 weeks pregnant, that just takes on a whole new meaning. So I made it up here, but thank you. Thank you so much for this award. It is such a great honor. Et c'est vraiment, merci, et je voulais dire aussi en français que c'est un très grand honneur de recevoir ce prix parmi tous ceux qui sont ici pour mieux servir le sport, le pays. And, you know, it's to me, I actually think that it's the most important award that I could possibly think of receiving after a career in sport, because it really highlights that we can extend our influence beyond sport. Regardless of breaking records or winning Olympic gold medals, that there's so much that we can do as athletes here. And I'm incredibly grateful for this. I looked at the list of the names of the people that have won this award before me. Adam Creek, Jennifer Heil. It's just incredible for what they've done in the past. Clara Hughes, Kyle Schufelt. These are people that have had remarkable careers in sport, and then they've done something incredible beyond it. And so that makes it even more special to me. And I just wanted to address those here tonight as well that may not reach the podium, that may not actually reach their heart's desire in sport.
And to those specifically, I would love to be able to tell you that the greatest thing that I've learned through a career in sport is that as short as it is, there's so much to be done in terms of giving back through social responsibility, giving back regardless of where you end up, because all of those character qualities that have made you who you are as an athlete, maybe it just wasn't your day on the day, but the fact is that all of those things, determination, your character, commitment to excellence, those pay off. You can still build those up, and they can really pay off for the rest of your life. And we need your contribution. The reason that I did the athletes site for World Rowing, that we're starting that up, is because of people like you who inspire me. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because I see all of you and I know how much time and effort you've invested into the role that brings you here tonight as well. And it's very inspiring for me to see so many people invested in more than just the daily bubble that we live as athletes. So I wanted to thank you for that. And lastly, I really want to thank AthletesCAN. It's an amazing organization. I remember participating at the one when it was my hometown of Fredericton. And exactly, it was my first time eating lobster, and as a Maritimer, I'm ashamed to say that, but I have to. And I had an incredible time there, and that's when I was introduced to this organization that we're so lucky to have. So thank you also to all the sponsors and supporters of AthletesCAN, because of you, we are here tonight and we can do something beyond our sport. And so just lastly, thank you again so much for this honor. And I really do want to say to the athletes here, whether or not you're breaking world records and go after gold medals, you have to. You absolutely have to. It's our job to go over those after the top, at the center of the podium. But regardless of where it ends up on the final day of your career, please know that there is a life beyond sport that is waiting for you, and our country and the world is waiting for your contribution. Thank you very much.
Congratulations once again, Jane Thornton, and also Kurt Harnett. Really heartfelt words and well-deserved. Thank you so much, Jane. Coming up in just the next few minutes, we're going to have a new addition to our gala night. It's an athletes panel. We're going to be talking all kinds of things in sport, in career, after sport. Stay tuned for that. Continue to enjoy your dessert, and we'll be back in the next few minutes. Thank you.
To, like, walking out for that opening game, it was in Edmonton, and just, it was unbelievable. You know, it was almost like every emotion you had, you wanted to laugh, cry, you were in awe. It was like I was a little kid and an adult in the same moment. And to see how the sport had just completely grown, and this whole country was actually watching. And so for us, the sport's transformed, but just being an athlete, to see how it started and from when I was into where it was just incredible.
Karen, what about you? You know, the excitement, I'm sure, was incredible, but how much did it change your sport once you found out that Pan Ams were going to be hosted in Toronto?
Well, for me personally, my plan was to retire in 2010, and then 2009 we found out we were hosting 2015, so that was always in the back of my head, and seeing how Canada embraced the 2010 Winter Games, I wanted to really be a part of the 2015 games here. So no matter what happened in life between those times, I was determined to get back and compete here. And it was definitely worth it. And within my sport, in the gymnastics community, so many volunteers came on board, and just competing there in the venue, every face was familiar. Like every volunteer I knew, they were a parent, a coach, someone from the community had volunteered. So just to see it had a huge impact on trampoline and gymnastics and just all the kids there in the stands, and inspiring a future generation how I was inspired as a kid. It just meant the world for sure.
And I imagine for those volunteers, in a way, it was like a reward for them as well, to be able to volunteer not just at the national champs, but to do it at the games. What do you think the legacy of that will be for the community of gymnastics or trampoline? Sorry.
The legacy is huge, I think, just for the community as a whole, like especially the facilities. I'm training at the Toronto Pan Am Centre, just to see the community embrace it. There's so many free programs offered by the City of Toronto. My daughter is there in preschool for free when I'm working out, and it's already right grassroots levels right up to older adults and retired people. They're having health and fitness, and I just think the legacy is huge, and it took us hosting a games to finally get those facilities in Ontario, which were long overdue. And another reason why I'm glad I never retired is now I finally have access to this world-class facility, and it's just amazing, and it's great, yeah.
And Trevor, yeah, what about yourself? You know, that impact once you found out the games were coming.
Yeah, so the Parapan Games in Toronto were the first time that wheelchair rugby had been involved with it. So it was one of those, didn't know what to expect to be in the Parapans, never heard anyone, no one had any experiences, but we knew that playing on our home soil was always important to us. There's not many opportunities for us to do that within our sport, and the last time we did, we had hosted World Championships in 2010 in Vancouver, and we had a pretty disappointing experience. So to be able to showcase our sport, which is a new sport, not many people know about wheelchair rugby, and to be able to do that on home soil was important for us, and then to be able to do that on home soil and then qualify for Rio was another big step for us. So it was a very important tournament for us, and it had all those different factors involved. Again, being able to do that with our friends and family in the audience, who not many people can afford to travel to the big tournaments around the world, and then being able to kind of come back from that disappointing experience last time our friends and family were out, and then of course having the opportunity to qualify for Rio and continue on our path for a Paralympic gold medal. It was just a great experience for us.
Now, Trevor, I'll keep it with you. You were telling me the other day that you've got a pretty big event coming up shortly, right? In London?
Yeah, our sport continues to keep growing and to keep getting that fan base, and we've just recently partnered with men's able-bodied rugby, and as everyone knows, the World Cup's on right now, and just to showcase our sport, there's a break between their pool play and their knockout stage, and wheelchair rugby is hosting a tournament. There's, I think, 1 through 6 are there, and then there's a couple other rugby nations there, 8 teams. So we'll be able to again showcase our sport to the world and help it grow in popularity. And a lot of people, especially in Toronto, like, oh, I've never heard of it, but they watch it once and they're hooked. So anytime that we were able to showcase our sport, it's pretty special.
And now with the timing of that, like you mentioned with the World Cup of Rugby going on, it's going to be a lot of fans, I imagine, that event's going to be pretty packed. How did the ability to play here in Toronto with such pressure, but also such big fan support, how does that prepare you for future big events like this one or like Rio next summer?
I don't think it's hard to play in front of a lot of fans, especially when they're supporting you. I think it's exciting to kind of feed off that. If anyone was there and caught a glimpse of our final game, we went down pretty quick, pretty early. And I think it was all those fans there that had that support and helped us back into that game. So, I mean, being able to play in a lot of fans I think it's great. I think it's a fan-friendly sport. There's contact, it's fast-paced, so just being able to, and then going over there and hopefully all those people who travel across the world to watch the World Cup of Rugby are bored that week and looking for something to do, and they'll come watch us.
Karine, I'm going to switch it over to you. Now, I know you just recently retired, but looking at again that playing in front of the home crowd and playing in front of such big attention here in Canada, how much do you think that's going to help the women's team in getting ready for Rio next year, and what kind of lessons do you think they learned that'll transfer over to that?
I think for our team, it's about just continued growth. I think from London to the World Cup, I think one of the learnings we had was learning how to deal with all the pressure. And I mean, as athletes, we put pressure on ourselves to start with. But I think it was finding the balance. I mean, we had to have support from our association and just even handling the media. I mean, social media these days can be a little bit overwhelming. You know, I mean, you make a post and then all of a sudden there's, you know, the likes, but it was also us channeling that energy and making sure like we're not we're not always on it. We're aware that, I mean, we had a rule that we weren't allowed to have our notifications on our phone anymore. Because when you first joined Instagram and Twitter, you'd be like, ooh, I got more likes, yeah. But then we just had a rule leading to the World Cup. We're not going to get those notifications anymore. Or, you know, we sent out an email 50 days before the World Cup just basically saying, we're busy, leave us alone. And I think those little small details going into the Olympics will help us be successful. I mean, I think one of the biggest things for us, though, is we were very vision clear on what our goal was and what our purpose was, and it was to try to inspire a nation. And I think not many people get to say that in life because, you know, they don't do what we do, but it was, we have this platform, and what are we going to do with it? And I think as athletes, that's what we work towards. And when we lost, it was tough, because in a sense, you felt like you let the country down, because you finally you have all this attention into this sport. It's the #1 sport played in Canada. You have everybody watching, and we fell short. And I think that will inspire the team going into Brazil to understand that we still, in a sense, inspired a generation. And I remember, like, the 2 days after we'd lost, it was tough. And as athletes, we go through this, but it's almost like you don't want to go outside, right? And I was walking down the street, and there was this 50-year-old man's man, right? Just man's man, okay? Like, he spends 5 hours in the gym every day. And he was walking by, and I was walking, he's like, hey! And I was like, oh, here it goes. And he's like, are you the goalie? And I was like, yes. And he turned, and he said, I just want to say something. I don't watch this woman's sports or anything. I was like, here we go. And he started crying. And he said, you make me so proud to be Canadian, and I want to thank you. And I think for us, sometimes as athletes, we get lost in this, everything's about winning or losing. And I think what our team will use from this event is that we still inspire the country, even though we didn't win. And I think that's what's going to help the team in the Olympics, of knowing that you become obsessed with that gold medal. And everybody is. But if we can be just as obsessed with just being proud of yourself, I think that's going to be our biggest lesson moving forward.
You know, Karina, sorry, on a little personal note, but I can tell you as a father of a 6-year-old and who watched the England game together, not just the way you performed, but the class that you ladies showed in defeat left a mark on me, but left a mark on her, and I think you're absolutely right, you did inspire another generation.
Thank you. Oh, we're going to have a moment up here, guys.
Karen, we'll move over to you. Focus a little bit more on the athlete leadership side. So you mentioned again how your community really rallied behind the event. But for you, as someone who's been involved with athlete leadership, you know, the Pan Ams and Pan Am and Para-Pan Ams being in Toronto, did it create additional leadership opportunities, and how did you take advantage of those?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been an advocate in sport and worked in my federation for 9 years as an athlete rep. And when the Pan Ams were here, you know, you didn't really notice a lot until about the 1 year countdown. We had a big celebration event. We did a big trampoline show for that. And moving forward from that whole year, 2014 to 2015, just numerous community events. And, you know, we already have a platform having Olympic medals, but having this platform to speak about these games that we're going to host, and people can feel more a part of that. There were more initiatives and more opportunities, and I was lucky enough to be part of the torch relay. We had thousands of people come out in my community, and just having so many people behind you. And I went to a Carpenters Union picnic where they had built the podiums for the games, and just my grandfather built those for part of that. Like, it's just, everyone just had a little piece of the games, and just being a part of that and hearing all those different experiences and how the volunteers were involved, and it definitely created a lot of momentum that built up, and just numerous opportunities. And just obviously as a competing athlete, you have to manage those things, but all of us tried our best to engage the community as much as possible, and to use it to promote health and activity, and just inspire to be a part of the games.
I want to touch on something you said. I mean, the balancing that, right? I mean, you know, and athlete leadership has been very important to you, but obviously the performances are important. How did you have a plan, or did you build a strategy to balance the requests and the demands in your time, you know, so that you would be able to focus on the performance as you needed to?
Yeah, I think it just goes in cycles depending on where you are within your cycle, where you put your importance and your time, leading into games, obviously. And as your life changed, like right now it would be family, because I have a 2-year-old, so first, and then training, and then third would be my other commitments. So just keeping those things and making sure you keep your priorities straight. And but for sure, once you have this opportunity, it's important to share it, and just people just get so excited to be a part of that. And I think it's important because I went to a Toronto FC game right after the Pan Ams. They had brought us there to honor us, and I saw all the athletes leaving the stage, and these kids are waiting for a high five, and they wouldn't even high five them. And I was like, us as amateur athletes, we would take the opportunity and give high fives, and that little moment can change that one child's life. It could be a life-changing moment for them. So I think it's important as an athlete to always, you know, take the time to do those things.
Trevor, I'm going to ask you the same question in terms of the opportunities you had, you know, to get engaged as a leader in the community because of Pan Ams or Para-Pan Ams.
Yeah, so leading up, personally, being out west, there wasn't a whole lot of hype out west for the Para-Pans. We were still with the World Cup in Vancouver. So, but I mean, seeing a lot of our Ontario athletes to the lead up, we're doing a lot of amazing things within their communities. There was always reports, Cody's here and doing all his Team Next stuff. So we were in the communities getting involved, but some of the stuff that sticks out with the games was our team took a lot of time after each game to make sure that we were talking to the fans. There's a lot of people that stuck around and would ask for photos and ask for autographs. And there was this one family who, there's this father and wife and their 2 boys, and they, oh, Trevor, can our kids get a picture with him? And the mom was telling me that the boys had watched a game on TV the other day, and they were like, we gotta go, and they emptied their piggy banks to buy tickets to come to the next game. And these are families, they have no ties to wheelchair rugby. These are a family who's watched the sport on TV, and just being able to touch base with these people, because a lot of our sport is people who know somebody or know somebody who knows somebody and is told out to come watch. And I think having our sport showcased in Toronto like that opened a lot of eyes, and we got a whole brand new fan base that we wouldn't have had without them.
And Karina, same question. I mean, and for yourself, you know, 17-year career, you've been involved in athlete leadership in a lot of different ways. But did did the World Cup create additional opportunities, given that it was here in Canada?
Absolutely. I think it was a platform for different things, and I think for us, our team, going back to just those moments with those fans, is that we had that goal of inspiring a nation, but we also understood the importance of that 5 seconds with that child, you know, and we all have our individual stories of how those moments make a difference. And, you know, for us, it was the FIFA had a rule that you weren't allowed to sign autographs. It was one of those things where, like, what are you doing, you know? But we found a way. But I think it's created more opportunities because it's an awareness thing now. And we understood that this was an opportunity to leave a legacy for the young girls that play the sport. But also it was kind of cool because there's now young boys, you know, like young boys wearing jerseys, and you're like, holy, that's kind of cool, you know. And I think it's taken ownership and responsibility of that. And we had that discussion with our team of guys, you know, like when you do the tweets and the Instagrams now, it's they're looking at you, and they can look at the Miley Cyrus for one thing, but they can look at us and actually stand for something. And you know, there's sponsorships, there's opportunities to speak now, and it's about using your voice for a reason. And I think with this platform, we've all understood that now our voice matters, and it's what are you going to do with it? And it's just kind of cool. The conversations are happening all over the places, but it's also understanding that for athletes, and this is a family, like we're all a family, and we all stand for each other, and we go out and we speak for each other, and it's now 7 days into retirement. now I'm having conversations on the corporate side and speaking of the difference that the corporations like the CIBCs can make for us in our lives, and like AthletesCAN, the differences that can make in our lives, because now people are having those conversations with us. You know, like women's soccer is relevant. You know, it's you sit down and people want to talk about women's soccer. That's rare. Like that didn't used to be what it was like, but again, it's now using that platform for something greater.
I want to touch on something that you mentioned, you know, about the Instagram or the Twitter or whatnot, and educating your fellow teammates, right? I mean, as a veteran, you deal with a lot of new teammates and younger teammates. Would you take an active role in kind of mentoring them and showing them about that leadership role that they can have, or would you wait for them to come to you and then share that?
I don't really wait for much. No, I think, you know, in my head I'm still 22, but I think that when you're around, it's a responsibility, and it's a conversation to have with the younger generation, because unfortunately, image and likes sometimes make you feel that that's who you are. You feel popular because you have a lot of likes on your Instagram or Twitter, but as athletes and people who represent our country, it's so much greater than that. And I think the younger generation, it's about understanding that, you know, understanding that you're also working on your brand over time. And by the time they reach my age, which is 23, you want to leave with an impression of what will people say about you when you leave. And you don't think about that at 21. You think about, well, if I post this picture, I'll get more likes, and that's awesome. But it's also now like, again, with our team, we became very relevant very quickly. And we had a 17-year-old in our team, her name is Kadisha Buchanan. She's probably 19 now, but in my head she'll always be 17. You know, for her, she's just this bright of energy, she just wants, you know, and it's like, you want her to stay true to who she is. You don't want her to change anything about her, but you want to educate her and be like, this is what's going to happen. And she's not believing that that's going to happen, but she'll put on a dance that we'll do in the locker room and you're like, no, you can't do that because. But I think it's just, I think older players here will understand it's just the responsibility to have that conversation with the younger generation.
And Karen, what about yourself? I mean, same question in terms of your relationship with some of the younger athletes in your sport. Do you take an active role in sharing with them the experiences you had in leadership, or do you wait more for them to approach you?
I think it's a bit of both. Like, I try to have an open thing so you can feel that you can come and ask questions. And most of our national team is out of my club here in Toronto, so we've all grown up together, and I've known them since they were kids, and just we almost like coach each other, help each other. So it's this family kind of thing. So it's always an open communication. So, but definitely, I wouldn't have a problem to advise or say something because, like you said, it can affect you for the rest of your life. It can affect you beyond sport. One comment you make. So it'd definitely be good to have for every sport some kind of like social media training, which is offered now too, but for athlete reps definitely to incorporate that because one comment or one post can affect you for the rest of your life. So it's just the age we live in and something to be aware of for sure.
I'm going to shift gears here a little bit, and someone mentioned earlier tonight, but obviously I think we were all a little bit disappointed. We heard about Toronto not bidding for the 2024 Olympic Games, but I want to get your thoughts from all three of you about hosting an Olympic Games in Canada. You supportive of that, and if so, why, or if not, why? Like, make the case for it.
I'm supportive because I can see that we did a great job with the Pan Am Games, and it took hosting a Games to get the infrastructure in place and some programs that were long overdue. So if it takes the Games to get those things, then yes, but also, being a mom and thinking of family and long-term things just to have the sustainability, and I think we've proven with the Pan Am Games that we're capable of that, and I trust that, we have the expertise to host an Olympics, and Toronto likes to put on a good show like we did, and the opening ceremonies were caliber of an Olympic Games, so I think we did an incredible job, and we would be capable of that. It's just, of course, you want to make sure that the sustainability is there because you've seen past things. So But yeah, I would be supportive of it.
How about you, Karina?
Absolutely. I think after having the world come to this country for the World Cup and everyone being like, Canada's so beautiful, they didn't get to know that this is the most beautiful country in the world. I think from that sense, it's, well, to me, it's a no-brainer. I don't have to talk about the dollar side. But I think also just for the next generation, I think we've all had that Olympic moment where we watched an Olympian one day and it was like, that's it for me, that's what I want to do. For me, it was Donovan Bailey. But it gives the next generation the opportunity to pick a person and have that moment. And then all of a sudden, you know, like we heard like people, like young boys would now go out and they're like, I want to be the next Christine Sinclair. You know, and I think those moments when it's right in front of you, I mean, people may not watch Olympic Games, but if it's in your hometown, like you guys said, with the Pan Ams, the numbers just grew as the days went on. It's there. And I think it inspires not just athletes and the next generation, but people in their lives. They want to be the best version of themselves. They want that Olympic moment, whether it's in work, in life, or whatever. So for me, in an inspirational point, I think it's huge. I think it would be great for the country. I think it would be great for the world to come here and fall in love with our country. And I just think, to me, I mean, obviously, I think it's a no-brainer, but.
Yeah, and for me, living out west, we had the 2010 games, and I've been able to witness the legacy that hosting a games has. Have the opportunity to train in the Richmond Olympic Oval 6 days a week, and it's a beautiful facility as far as post games and what that would bring to Toronto had they chosen to go after the games, and the amazing facilities that would be left over for the next generation to grow up playing sports in. And then just talking about the Paralympic side, we've seen how much Paralympic sport has grown. London hosting the Parapans, how much it's grown, and I think Canada hosting another one, it's just, Canada understands the importance of Paralympic sport and the side for educating people with disabilities on the importance of staying active. And I would hate to see, I don't know Rio's plan, but I would hate to see some kind of drop off in the coverage the Paralympic sport has been getting. London did an amazing job. For anyone who doesn't know, they had a show there called The Last Leg, which was a nightly wrap-up show, and the host was an amputee, and the other guy had a disability, and they were like this late-night funny duo, and when they'd have athletes on, and they would tell jokes. It was just a funny late-night show, and we'd watch that every night as a team. And how many years later, that show is still on, and it's still there, and they're still doing their thing. So I mean, there's so many plus sides to hosting a games that I would definitely support it.
We're wrapping up. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, guys, ladies, thank you so much for your performances, but also for taking on that responsibility of being leaders and inspiring the next generation. I mean, to Jane's words earlier tonight, I mean, it's such a big power that we can have, and when athletes take on that responsibility, I think it encourages other athletes to do it, and it helps our community. So thank you for that.
Thank you.